Hey y'all, it's your girl Naris. I let the Lord rise. I let the Lord rise. I let the Lord rise. I forget the lower harmony, but I recorded that like several years ago. But hey y'all, it's your girl Naris. We'll skip that one for now. But so you know, I've obviously haven't been on here for a while, and I made a post on YouTube for those watching on Kick. Here's the update. But if my life or anything like the Truman Show, you already know. But so I haven't been on live stream. I had been dealing with some things, which seems to be like every other episode. Um, and I just wanted to take some time uh away from the live stream and just kind of like be better about how I express myself on here. Even though if my life were anything like the Truman Show, having a sense of like freedom to express yourself before it being public is kind of like, it's like not existent at this particular moment in time. So, I try to do my best filtering my feelings. And I just wanted to take some time to, just step away for a bit. I'm sure you all missed me. Um, but yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to update. Again, if my life were anything like a Truman Show, you probably already know, but not necessarily because, like I said, I wanted to be better about expressing myself, and I'm um, not as outwardly expressive about certain things. Some things I just keep to myself because it's not everybody's business. Um, and this isn't going to be the live stream where I get into that. I just want this to be about the music, you know. Um, because I will say briefly, I think we're in a day and age where how like years ago there will always be like those conspiracy videos of like, if you play these songs backwards, this is what they're really saying. And I feel like now we're in a day and age where it's like all of that is actually not too far fetched from being reality, you know? And, you know, sometimes that can be annoying. Um, and me as a creative, someone who just genuinely loves art and music and creating, like, Easter eggs are cool when it's cool when there's substance. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I feel like people just put Easter eggs in their projects just for the sake of like, oh, it's a trendy thing or it's cool to do. Sometimes it's cool when it's like fun, like a fun interactive thing between an artist and their fans. And it's like, you know, the track list has this like thing that leads you to this thing on this app. And then, if you get the album, this particular album, it has this thing and it's like a code word to the performance. Like that's cool. That's dope. I think that stuff like that is really cool. But sometimes when people do the Easter egg thing and it's like I think it's like played out. And sometimes people don't even be saying nothing and they symbolisms and their Easter eggs. It's just like, okay, you're just doing what everybody else is doing. And it's kind of corny. But and that's all I'll say. Um, but referencing myself, this will be my last point before I get into what I really want to talk about on this live stream. Your heroes got too much ego to admit they loud and wrong. They don't care about truth or justice. They just trying to push a song. Maybe they knew the storyline was bullshit from the jump. Just make the reference, don't question it. Go ahead, just play along. Bars by Narice. Not ghostwritten. Because I don't think the ghost would want to write that. But anyway, I want to talk about the music. So earlier yesterday, I started working on not a new song. Well, technically, it's a new song, but it's an old concept. One of those like sample ideas that I had a long time ago, kind of like a lot of the stuff that I was doing on live stream when you guys would watch me make beats. I had like sample ideas from years ago, like back in the day when I was in a little group called Down to Mars, Down to March at the Million Woman March. Um, if you know, you know. But yeah, so I had some sample ideas, and this is before I was making my own beats, right? Because the structure of the group was that I wrote and sang, rapped a little bit here and there, and my bandmate, they rapped a little bit. You know, they put little bars together, but they primarily produced. And this was prior to me like playing guitar, making my own beats, but I had like an ear for how I wanted some of the songs to go. So a lot of what we would do is that they would make the beats and I would say like, hey, can you loop this part here? Or can you try making a beat with this sound and doing this and that? And so there were sample ideas that I had when I was in the group that we just never worked on. And I was just like, you know what? Maybe I'll just get back to it at some point. I don't know. And so it was songs that I was like, you know, in my mind thinking it would be really cool to sample and make it into something new. Or something just like, I don't know. I just had like ideas. And so I never wanted to like give up on those ideas. If it took however many years, and so be it. So a lot of the newer tracks that I had been working on, including the song that is playing in the background, which is Water Bearer. It was a recent sample idea because I had heard that song like a few months ago. And I was like, I really like this one particular section in this song, and I want to like loop that and make that into a beat. But a lot of the other songs that I had been working on, Taking the Lead, Correspondence, what's the other ones? The On a Hiatus beat. Like there's a handful of beats and an even back end. Yeah. And okay, those songs in particular, I had ideas for those samples a while ago. Like the Game of Thrones sample. Like when I first heard it, I was like, yo, this would be really dope if somebody just sampled it. And then I'm like, why not me? You know, and I started working on it like 2 years ago on like a video editing app, which is kind of crazy. And then I lost the files for that. But I was just like, all right, let me actually just like rework the sample. And so like you guys saw me like work on some of those beats in some of my previous live streams. And so that's kind of what I've been doing. And on top of just like going back and just like working on songs that I started years ago, um, and just like breathing new life into it, right? And it's been fun. It's been exciting. It gave me something to kind of like look forward to in the midst of being in like a Armageddon type show life. You know, like I try to find the fun and the joy somewhere in the midst of the shenanigans, right? So, so yeah, it gave me something to look forward to. So that's how I started doing the live streams, right? Backstory for those who don't know. Um, And, you know, I would do live streams on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Music Monday, Wave Wednesday, Fire Friday. And so, and yeah, I had been working on music for a while, but you know, I kind of wanted to take a break for a bit just to like let you guys miss me. Um, but then also because I did want to work through like some emotional stuff on my own. Because I know a lot of times because of like technical reasons, like I had to switch up my Wi-Fi. And even with like the Wi-Fi that I have, I don't know if it's strong enough for me to live stream on my computer while working on the music. So I had been live streaming on my phone. And you know, Stephen Baldwin made a really good point on his interview with what's the name? I'm so sorry. He knows who he is. I'm not saying anything because I don't want to mess up his name, Patrick. Shout out to him. But that theme song sounds a little familiar. But that's beside the point. Stephen Baldwin, he said something about how the industry is in a space where creatives are making with the format of the industry in mind rather than just making the art for the art. And he's right. You know, and how I can translate that in my own life. You know, I started doing these live streams like just straight from my computer. And then I know that based on YouTube's algorithm, you get more traction when you do it vertically on your phone. So I started doing live streams on my phone. And I mean, it wasn't like I was planning on doing it that way. It happened that way because my computer was acting up one night and my data was low on my phone. So I just was like, fuck it. Just to stay consistent, let me just do this on my phone. And then I saw the numbers go up. So I was like, all right, cool. Maybe this might be a thing. So it wasn't necessarily it didn't start out that way. It started out just from like necessity because I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm just going to live stream on my phone. But then I did realize like that was a formula that was like pushing the work and the algorithm. Um, and you know, and that was a point. That's a valid point that it did shift my creative process. But I will say, yeah, it shifted my creative process. And I did kind of want to go back to doing live streams from the computer so you guys can see me like work on the beats in real time. But from the Wi-Fi that I have right now, I'm not sure if it's like strong enough to like live stream because like the internet gets weird on my computer. So you know, and I'm working on what I got and I'm like for the first time like just building a lot of things on my own. And basically what I mean by that kind of like manifesting what I was saying on front end like um I don't need a thing from you. I pay my own bills. And I mean, I do and have, you know, in terms of like my credit card bills. But I mean, if my life were anything like the Truman Show, you already know Truman Show is, you know, there's this shelter cage that I live in. And, you know, but slowly but surely, I wanted to. I mean, naturally, as an Aquarius, I always wanted to strive for independence. So you slowly but surely I've been working on those things. And you know, so like just that involves me like getting my own Wi-Fi, getting my own devices, like, you know, my own phone and computer and stuff like that. And you know, and I tried to get like the high speed internet or whatever the case may be, but you know, I'm on a budget. I'm working with what I got. You know, I'm gonna do the best I can with what I got. Shout out to Mariah Carey. Um, I always have love for her. So, you know, shout out to her. But yeah, I'm just slowly but surely like working on things, building my independence, like things that I could be proud of. And speaking of, I'll share this because it's already done. You know, they say like, I mean, again, like there's but so much that I could keep a secret in this reality. But um it's finalized, it's done, it's set in stone, and it's here. So I purchased my own car in my name on my own. And this is a first for me and I'm very proud. And that's pretty much what I have been doing for like most of this month that I haven't been on live stream. And again, if my life were like the Truman Show, you already know most of that process of the journey. And you probably know about, you know, bumps in the road that's ahead that I don't know yet. Who knows? You know, gets the script before I do. But whatever. Either way, I'm proud. Either way, it's an accomplishment. It's a milestone. Um, like the whole process of like getting my own insurance and getting the car and getting the car, sent to me, and then like having to put it in the shop because the day that I got it was some shenanigan, because I'm beefing with corporations, and I just little old me, that's a mom and pop just beefing with these corporations. It's a Mariah Carey reference with respectfully, you know. But it is what it is. Um, hey, mom and pop, respectfully. Y'all know I'm with the shenanigans. And if I say anything that offends anybody, blame the witches. They fucking wish it, so it's their fault. Um, but anyway, um, yeah. So like I've been doing a lot of things. I've been doing a lot of things trying to build my independence. And I say all this to say, in the process of this, I'm learning the process of the different types of Wi-Fi's that you can get and what works best for this device and what doesn't, and how to get it through a router versus like the cable line and all these things. Like I'm learning all of that in real time. And it's not like I haven't known those things, but when you live in a house like a family home where your names isn't on the bills, like you don't really necessarily worry about that. I mean, I might sound like privileged to some folks, but I mean, I guess, depending on how you want to define, privilege. Um, but you know what I'm saying. Like, just give me some grace in that. But I say all this to say I'm learning these things in real time, and so I'm trying to figure out like, okay, what's the best way for me to get Wi-Fi on my computer that's strong enough for me to live stream and do the music, which is what I thought I purchased. I thought I got a router that would be strong enough to handle that. But it is what it is. And I'm just doing the best that I can with what I got. Literally. Um, I ain't no perfect man. I'm trying to be the best that I can with what it is I have. Shout out to Yassine Bey, um, who has been like, um, what's the word? Like a guru in spirit for me right now. I don't know if that's legit or not, but I'll take it. Um, and speaking of, I listened to Black on Both Sides. I think that's the name of the album for the first time. Like I've seen that album, I've seen that cover. I know when people talk about like hip hop albums, it comes up. And I hadn't really like listened to that full project. It was another um Yassine Bey album that I had listened to a long time ago. I think it was Ecstatic. I think it might have been that project. But yeah, but yeah, anyway, just beside the point. I listened to Black on Both Sides recently, and oh my gosh, it's such a good album. It's such a phenomenal album, start to finish. There's really not skips on there. There might have been like songs that like stood out more than others for me, but there wasn't any songs that I was like, this is whack. Like I just feel like Yassine and whack just isn't synonymous at all. Like you just can't put whack in the same sentence as Yassine Bey. Like you just can't. Like it just doesn't work. Like unless you're saying it's whack that he's not talked about enough. Like you know what I mean? Like anyway, that's beside the point. So yeah, and I say this to say, like, we're gonna have like a Yassine appreciation moment. And then I'll get back to my point. So I was watching, I had made some like beef stew a few weeks ago, like last week. Last week, I think. Yeah, last week. It wasn't that long ago, which I probably need to throw it out by now. But anyway, that's beside the point. It's probably what's brewing downstairs now. But anyway, So I was making stew. No, it was about like, because it happened to be the same day that the I Got You EP came out. Just so happens. And I was like, I'm gonna treat myself. And so, well, yeah, I wanted to celebrate in a small way, like a small to myself kind of way. Even though there's probably like shenanigans woven into that project, it still was my first musical project released. And whatever. I still wanted to be like proud of the effort of creativity. So I got myself flowers and I made a beef stew or like pot roast, whatever you want to call it. And I watched Be Kind Rewind. And I hadn't watched that movie in a long time, but I remember enjoying the movie. And so it's Yassine and Jack Black and Danny Glover is in the movie. And it's about like them working at a record, not a record, a tape shop, kind of like Blockbuster, but like mom and pop. And and like this whole like freak of nature moment happens with Jack Black and like all the tapes are erased and people are like coming into the store and they're trying to buy tapes. And so they recreate like these home videos um for the like messed up tapes when people come and like order it. It's really funny, it's cute, it's adorable. And it's a good movie. Like it's hilarious. And and I remember enjoying that movie a while ago. Because I think it used to come on HBO or something. Yeah, HBO or like Stars or one of those like years ago back in the day. And I just remember it would come on TV a few times. And I just really enjoyed the movie. So, if you get the chance, check it out. It's a good film. It's really funny. And it's just like it's a wholesome, just like, feel good um movie. But anyway, um, yeah, so okay, that was my side note. The main thing that I wanted to say was that I was working on music yesterday. And I mean, this is just like the light-hearted update. I wasn't trying to get through all of this, but like I got a car by the way. That was another thing. And I'm really proud of myself. It's a cute little Subaru. And yeah, I did the whole process. I shopped it, I purchased it, and and it's I got my own little vehicle. So I'm out here. Be outside. Be outside. But anyway, yeah, don't mind my hair. It's having a life of its own apparently. Anyway, so yeah, so all of that was kind of going on and I had stepped away from music for a bit. And it's been I guess subliminally suggested that I would be back into music or should be back into music or whatever. And I mean, I'm always grateful for that, regardless of intention, just because I enjoy music and I enjoy art. And and I like to think that I'm good at it. And I say that humbly. Uh, but and I mean that in a way like I really enjoy art. I really enjoy this. I enjoy creating, making music, singing, creating visuals. Like I really enjoy the whole creative process. And and I've just been like a little bit annoyed with just like the state of the arts right now. It's just like and not for reasons that people think. I mean, like yes, the obvious is annoying when it's like Trent makes the world takes. But it's more so just like the lack of creativity. and originality and substance and like just like in the work. That's the thing that's bothering me. Like as a fan of art, as a fan of creativity, like the lack of substance in the work in the last 20 years now. Go back and listen to some of these albums and it's like, oh, damn, I really thought that this was quality work. And then now you start to see the Illuminati sprinkles in there. And but I mean, I guess the songs are good, I guess. But it's just like, like, oh, the art is just not arting like it could be. And and I just want to make good art. That's all. Like I don't want to bother nobody. I don't want to hurt nobody. I don't like want to like have hidden messages and like, all this weird shit. Like I just want to make dope songs that makes people feel good or like has a message that like you saying something, like you really saying something that's gonna like help and benefit people on this planet. And I'm just like, Lord, when people be like, Earth is ghetto, my God, is it? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I landed here to like help humanity, but I couldn't have been from here. I don't know. I think the alien conspiracies might be accurate because y'all are weird. Like, I'm weird in a dope way. Like we can go from talking about Yasin Bey and quality hip hop, quality art, and then we can talk about film and just like appreciation of work, and then still talk about like I don't know spiritual stuff, and then I can talk about it's the age of Aquarius because y'all know that that's my bag sometimes. But yeah, I just feel like the art is just not arting like it could be. It's like, oh, what Easter eggs is in this album? And that's kind of corny because it's like it's overdone. It's not even dope anymore. It's not even clever. It's just like, okay, you're doing the same thing everybody else is doing. Everybody's making the same album. Like everybody's making the same album. It's okay. Like I was gonna say something. I had a thought that I wanted to share, but I'm not gonna say it. I'll say it later. I'll say it at a different time. But yeah, like everybody's making the same album. It might sound a little different, but it's the same shit. Essentially. Essentially. It's all the same. And I'm just like, okay, where's the art? Where's the creativity? So anyway, that's beside the point. So I started working on the song yesterday and I'm like really proud of it. And I'm and it's like the first time in a long time where like the writing process was just so easy for me. Um and I had an idea um that I recorded a while ago that I will say I will give credit where credit is due because that's what I do. Um, and let me just make sure I get the names right. Get the lens right. Okay. Um, it's funny how this is all coming into like a full circle moment. So it was inspired by Waiting for You by Majid Jordan featuring Naomi Sharon. I stumbled across that song on like TikTok or something like that. And I was like, oh, look at that showing up in my algorithm. And it's like a real like smooth R&B kind of like very like Sade-esque vibes. And we love Sade. Shout out to Sade. She's a queen in her own right. Um and and I had been like very much in like a heavy Sade bag. Like for like the last 2 years, like last 2 years or so, I've really been in like listening to a lot of Sade. And I mean, of course, like there's the classics that you hear on the radio, but I really was like getting into her projects and stuff like that and really like listening album by album. And I mean, she just does not miss. Like, you know, and I appreciate an artist like her just because like she don't do it for the TikToks and the clout and the this and the that. She really just does it for the art. And the crazy thing is like she didn't even like it's not like she wanted to be a singer in life. Like she wanted to be in fashion, which makes sense why she's so fly and she's literally a fashion icon and she comes up out of the ocean every like 10 or 15 years or so. But anyway, that song is very Sade-esque. And I was listening to this song, I was like, oh, this is such a vibe. Like, you know, I enjoy the vibes. And so I was inspired by that. And I came up with like just a little melody, like inspired by the melody that they did. And and so I was like, okay, I feel like this melody would be cool for one of the beat ideas that I hadn't finished. And so the thing is, it was going to be a little bit of a challenge just because I had two different samples that I wanted to try to put together and I had never done that before. Kind of like oh excuse me. Um it's probably a witch. It's probably why I say that. You know, when you're identifying the spells in real time. Um I don't know, maybe that might just be my problem. Anyway, so I was yeah, the beat. That's what I was talking about. So it's two different samples. Kind of like Mass Appeals when they do like a rhythm roulette. I think that's what it's called. I don't know if they've been doing that recently. They should bring that back. But when they'll have producers go in the record store, pick three vinyls randomly and do three different samples from those projects and make a song. Oh my gosh, so dope. If anybody hasn't like checked that out, check that out. It's super dope. Um and so it's not like that. But you know, there I mean, there's many producers that like sample multiple records in one. And I've never done that before. Like I had just kind of like really got into sampling when I started doing these live streams and making these beats. And I know I had that idea and I was like, okay, so I wanted to sample Been to the Moon by Corinne Bailey Rae and Send One Your Love by Stevie Wonder and somehow put those together. I haven't finished it yet. I kind of have an idea. I kind of have an idea of how I want to do it. It's not exactly like it's not gonna be. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not. I'm not gonna explain it. I'll just do it, and then y'all will see what it's gonna be. Because then I might change it. So who knows? Um, but I had an idea to sample those songs together, and I started working on it yesterday. And I didn't forget, even though I started working on another song that people probably thought I was gonna work on, but I was like, "No, we'll wait for that one." It's more gospel inspired just because I had been listening to a lot of Aretha Franklin, um, with her, Amazing Grace album, um, which had been, like, such an inspiration, which okay, I'll get into that. I'll get into that later though. I'll circle back to that. But, but yeah, no, I was like, nah, I've had this song in my mind for a while. I kind of envisioned how I wanted to do it and how I want it to sound. And I feel like it's the first song that I've worked on that really kind of like pulls from like a traditional R&B sound. Just because like I'll just play some of it for y'all so y'all can hear what I'm talking about. Because I know like a lot of the music that I do even though I feel like it ranges because I feel like some songs lean towards like more hip hop, some song leans more towards like alternative R&B, some are more like just like alternative, like soft guitar kind of vibes. But somehow, some way it all sounds like me. And I don't really know what my sound is. You know how there's like certain producers where you could be like, that's probably a Pharrell beat. I don't know what that's like for me. Like I don't know if I have like a distinct sound yet, but I don't know. Um, but whatever. But I feel like this is one of the first songs that has more of a like traditional R&B kind of vibe. And I mean like that's what raised me. You know, that's like my foundation in terms of like the music that I listen to. Like I don't really like as much as I am a hip hop head, like if my life were anything like the Truman Show and y'all see the content that I watch, you know, like most of the platforms that I watch are like based in hip hop because I'm a hip hop head. But I really don't listen to a lot of the newer artists. No shade to them. It's just like golden era hip hop is my thing. Like 90s quality, like soulful samples up into like maybe 2010s. Like, you know, everybody that was beefing this year and like the big three conversation. I don't know if that's still a thing or not. I don't know. But like I say if we're gonna talk about big three, we should say big four, and I include Nicki in there. Um, so yeah, but you know, me giving credit where credit is due. Just saying. But that's beside the point. That's a whole nother conversation for another time. But like that's kind of like where I like kind of like stop where it comes to like paying attention to current hip hop. But I do follow people who follow hip hop. Um, anyway, my point in saying this is I listen to a lot of old school stuff. So whether it's old school hip hop, old school R&B, like if I were to listen to the radio, not so much now, but you know, old school R&B classics, the oldies, 70s, like just you know, the legends of R&B and soul music, like your Luther Vandross and Patti LaBelle, Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, you know, just like the, you know what I mean? Like that's what I listen to. That's what I've grown up listening to. That's like my, okay, this is the default. But I know my music doesn't really necessarily sound like that. But then again, my music doesn't sound like what everybody else is doing because I'm not trying to sound like them. But I guess they're trying to sound like me. I don't know. Um, but guess I'm the leader of the new school. Anyway, but I realized this is one of the songs. This is one of the first um songs that sounds like a little bit like traditional R&B. And I'm really proud of that. It's simple. Like I hadn't added much to it. I just cleaned up the loop that I wanted to use. And I just learned how to change the pitch of the sample. So I'm pretty excited about that. Um, because like I found this clip a while ago because that was the one thing that I was concerned about in terms of like doing two different samples and putting it together. Because I'm like, how do you like make sure it's the right BPM and it's in the right key and all those things? So I looked up how to change the pitch of a song and I saved the video and I was like, I know this video is going to help me with that song that I'm thinking about. But I knew I wasn't working on it right then and there. So I was like, I'm going to come back to that song, but I know I'm going to save this video because it's for this, you know, I had it lined up to work out how it's working out right now. And so I was like, all right, I think I'm ready to work on this beat. And so and then I had the vocal part that was inspired by the Majid Jordan song. And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to put it all together. Or not all together, but you know, I started working on it. And so I cleaned up the sample, the Corinne Bailey Ray sample, and I learned how to pitch it because I realized when I've been sampling for some of these beats lately, um, it I haven't changed the pitch. Like it's all the same. So I was like, all right, let me switch it up. And, you know, so it's not exactly like the original song. And so this is how it is. And it's just a loop, you know, for the most part. And I started writing to it. And like it was just like some of the quickest. I mean, it was one of the quickest like writing processes. Like I feel like I'm pretty much done the song. It's just a matter of like structuring it and like putting it all together and figuring out okay what part's gonna flow into what. But and then I want to add to the production. Like I definitely want to add some more here. But but it's really soulful. It's simple. It's simplistic. It's not a lot going on, and that's cool. And then mind you, this is a part of the song at like the end of the Corinne Bailey Rae song. So it's not like this is a majority of what she was using in her original song. This was the ending. And I was like, oh, I really like this. And I realized that that's kind of been like a thing for me with sampling is like, this should be longer. Like kind of like the Hiatus Coyote sample with Making Friends with an Owl or Only Time All the Time, Making Friends with an Owl. I'm like, this needs to be longer. So if you're not gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. For the people, you know what I mean? For the people, for society, for humanity. This is my way of saving the planet. Making the tracks longer that should be longer because it's great. So yeah. And then this is the sample. And then I used the ending. And this is the one like change that I have here so far. But I looped it. I looped this part too. And I know I have to add drums because there's a part where the drums come out. So I'm like, all right, I gotta add some percussions on here, which is cool. But it's simple. But it's like, you know, and then what I was writing to this was basically it was like essentially what it was about. Sorry, I'm just like in thought. I mean, it's kind of the same concept of water bearer and I feel like there's another song that bringing down the house and yeah, I think just yeah, like water bearer and bringing down the house, which were songs that I wrote as like inspirational songs, really for myself, but it could be for others as well. And what I was writing here was like just about, because I mean, when you go through things in life, it's easy to just create from that space of like, oh, I'm going through it. I'm in the struggle right now, right? And and I didn't want to write from that place. I wanted to challenge myself to write from a perspective of like empowering myself to, and also Red, which originally was Jazzy Sprinkles. That was the name of the beat. But I changed it to Red. And it, again, it's like a uplifting type of a thing. And I think it actually makes more sense for me to say it like that. With that song, because it's like, know you've been working hard on the goals that you done started, making sure they get accomplished. Girl, you're so determined, even after being broken hearted. You see why you're so guarded. No longer do you need your armor. We're just here to love on you. So, like, kind of like that concept, even though I was still going through it and I like still have trust issues with humanity. Because you know, I'm a sensitive little alien and goddess on this planet, you know, and I'm just trying my best. So I be feeling away. And I am very guarded. And and I mean I can take a joke, you know, and if the jokes are funny, then I don't mind jokes. But at the same time, like I've dealt with a lot. I've dealt with a hell of a lot and still deal with a lot. And, you know, like I say, like I'm one person and, you know, like yeah, I'm tough and I'm really strong. And you know, sometimes I could be like in a playful mood or whatever the case may be, but I'm gangster. Like not in the sense of like I'm out here like, you know, with the Glock on the block, but in the sense of like it takes a really strong spirit in person to deal with the things that I've dealt with. And you know, and it's easy to be guarded and it's easy to be jaded and not trust people. And if people are kind, then you got to take it with a grain of salt, because you don't know if they're just trying to get your guard down to fuck with you, because that happens. And sometimes when you're just trying to have a regular conversation and you realize people are just sneaking in Jedi mind tricks in the conversation, and it's like, damn, can we just talk about music? Can we just talk about music? Do we got to do all this extra hieroglyphics bullshit? You know, no shade to the hieroglyphics, but I'm just saying. And so I wrote this song, and honestly, the lyrics are really simple. It's not like it's a lot of metaphors or double entendres, triple entendre, quadruple hexatendres. Like, no, it's just like, it's simple in saying, like, I know you've been through a lot, and I know your guard is up, but I want to take the time to show you that you can trust me. And I'm saying this to myself, really. Um, and I know that there's probably other people in the world who needs to hear that. And so that was kind of like the concept with this song, rather than it being another like getting it up out the trenches. But I mean, it still speaks to being in that space of like, you know, being hurt or having experienced hurt, but knowing that there's light on the other side, you know? Um, and so that's kind of like what I was writing to here. And it was easy for me to write. I mean, and plus, like, I already had that idea from the Majid Jordan song. And the thing was, like, I didn't want it to sound like that, and I don't think it does. Now that I kind of like looped this track how I wanted to, and like had this different sections going um within it. And then once I put that section in along with everything else that I wrote, everything else that I wrote sounds like me. And then that one particular section is inspired by that song, but I did intentionally make like a Sade melodic reference, because she kind of has like a signature sound. And I did kind of like reference that a little bit, but in the in the grand scope of the song, it doesn't sound like that. So like, that's just a little like, hey, little nod to them. Um, which is funny because I feel like life imitates art, art imitates life in this particular moment. But yeah. And so I started working on this song, and I really like it, and I'm proud of it. And it's interesting just because like I don't have a lot of songs that sound like this, because I think a lot of what I use, because I mean, it's a horn section for one, right? It's a horn section, and it's like real soulful and R&B. And a lot of what I use is like synths and, sounds with a MIDI controller. But also, like, if I'm using real instrumentation, I'm using a guitar and a bass. Like, I don't play any wind instruments. So, but I do love a good horn section. Like, I'll have like a synthetic horn section through the MIDI controller. Um but and even like the chill like songs don't really, it's not really like traditional R&B kind of feel. It's more like alternative, And yeah, it's just a different kind of a vibe. But I'm excited to write a song like this, because when I had the ideas for like how I wanted to use the sample and which vocal part I wanted to put with it like a while ago, I was like, you know what? I want to challenge myself to make like a more sophisticated sounding song. Um, I don't know how I'm going to present this, but I'm not really like worried about that right now. I'm just worried about like putting all the stuff together that I've been working on. And I realize I have a lot of songs. Not a lot. Like, I mean, some people do like 100 songs and then narrow down like 10 and then make an album. And I'm not doing that. But I do have a handful of songs. And a lot of it I'm still like working on. I have to tweak. I have to like switch up the beat a little bit. I have to like clean up the vocals. Like there's a lot of things to do. Um, but I was just like, okay, let's put all this together. You know, I don't know. Maybe that might have been the glorious inspiration. I'll take it. Um, but um, but yeah, it's a working process. It's a process to put this together. And, and it really made me realize, like, damn, I made a lot of beats, and it's, I don't know, I just feel like it's interesting just because naturally, like just in the industry, I feel like women altogether are very underestimated and underrated as producers. And we don't see enough women producing. And I mean, like, there's a lot of like women producing that are like really dope and in the sense of they're like artist producers where like they produce for themselves. And I love that. And I just feel like we should see more of it. And then also like I wanted to challenge myself. Um just because, something that I've explained many times before is just like, what's pushed and propelled me as a creative is just necessity. Being in a space where I once had to rely on other people to do those things and then not having them anymore. And it's like, okay, well, am I supposed to stop? No. So I just got to learn how to make beats, and that kind of like spilled over into visuals, like I had like certain people that I would collaborate with. And then those relationships just kind of like, you know, drifted apart like a tectonic plate. And and I was just like, all right, well, I just gotta figure out how we gonna do this. And I had to, take shitty pictures and, have visuals that just weren't all that great. And then eventually teach myself lighting, teach myself how to put a look together, teach myself, the different focal points and depth within like, the backgrounds and what's going to be the background, what's the lighting and all that stuff. Like I had to learn all those things. And the same thing with music. And when I really looked at it and just like put all the tracks that I have been working on, all the beats that I had produced, and it's like, yo, I really do this. And I mean, and mind you, there's other beats that like I made a long time ago that I don't really know if I'm going to use them for songs, but like even those beats, like, I mean, there's a few beats that I was like, all right, we can keep that in the vault. But I know that there's some creatives that'll make a song and then it'll go through like hella different versions before it gets to the one that we hear as a public act. But I'm proud to say that a lot of the beats that I work on, like at first attempt, are like quality. Now it's not perfect. Like there's certain moments where it's like, okay, the cadence is a little off here, or maybe I like that melody, but I might want to change this sound. But I'm proud of my work. Like I'm really proud of my beats, and I'm proud of the concepts and the ideas that I've had. Um, and it's not like it's like a complete project or something like that, but it's just like me creating. It's just making art for the sake of art, not for the sake of like Easter eggs or what hidden message could be here, but like just making art um for the sake of expression and just like wanting to make work that's good, that you enjoy, that make you, make you dance or make you like, be in your feels or whatever the case may be. Like and just like work that you can be proud of. And I will say, like, my first concept project, now that I understand the symbolism that was going on with that, I'm just like, okay, all right, I see the shenanigans. But it's like, again, like the fact that that's even there, it's just like, why? It's like so corny. But take all that away and just like listen to just the music and and just what I'm talking about. And and honestly, like I can understand to a degree why people do the whole like, hidden speaking in code type of thing. Like it can be clever to a like degree. And it's like, okay, there's more to this album that meets the eye. But sometimes just like I don't know. For me, I think it's like the Aquarian in me. It's like I'd rather just tell you what it is straight up. Like fuck the hidden message. Like either you like it or you don't. You know, and if you don't like it, then don't, then all right, then don't like it. But if you do like it, then say that. Or if you change your mind, then that's cool too. But it's like the whole like trying to decipher, like, you know, like all of that shit is whack. It's corny and you know, and I just like to be direct. I just like to be direct about certain things. And I feel like, especially for a long time, just being a passive aggressive person for a period of time in life, like I'm just so over it. And I'm like, no, I just rather be transparent. I'd rather just say, I don't like that. Or I do like this. This sounds dope. This sound could be this. Or I can just say, like, in a song, you know, I know you've been hurt. I know you've cried a lot. And I don't want to be that. I want better for you. And just say that. And it could be simple as that. Like, you know, and I have certain songs where there's like metaphors and symbolisms and stuff like that. And that could be cool. And I can do that. Like I can write in that way, but then I can write certain things that are just simple. And as simple as like, you know, let me show you how a true love feels. And sometimes messages that are just as plain and simple as that, when said honestly, genuinely, beautifully, is just as powerful, you know? And I think in a way it's allowing me to evolve as a writer too, just because, you know, I appreciate people who can do all the like double entendre stuff. Like that's cool. That is cool. And it does take skill to do that. And I feel like we're in a day and age, especially after the whole like beef, where it forced people to really like break down lyrics and really say like, oh, what he talking about here? Like, you know, and I feel like I do like that aspect where we're in a day and age where people are paying more attention to lyrics. And I'm not gonna lie, like growing up, I'm just now getting better at listening to lyrics just because for me, I was always into like sounds and sonics. So for a long time, I would really care more about the beat than I would whatever the rapper was saying. But now I actually like pay a little bit more attention to lyrics, I guess in more ways than one. Because it was always the sounds for me. Like I was always really big on melody. Um, and I mean, it makes sense why I create the way that I do. Um, but you know, and I think that is cool. I think it's cool to be able to, you know, be so melodic and then have metaphors and deeper meanings and really force you to like analyze the lyrics. And then sometimes there's just certain songs that is just you get straight to the point. You say what you need to say and it can still be just as beautiful. It can still be just as dope. It can still be just as like thought provoking and powerful and effective. And this is one of those songs where the lyrics are very simplistic, but powerful. Powerful for me, just based on everything that I've been through and wanting to have a message that's something different, you know, rather than like woe is me type of thing. Like there's a little woe is a little bit, but it's like a space from a perspective, kind of like what Mariah Carey was saying about Butterfly when she wrote it. Like just after everything that she had been through, um, being married to Tommy Mottola, and she wrote it. And I think she said that about Anytime You Need a Friend too, different album. But she wrote that like because that's what she needed to hear. And that was at a time where she was kind of like ostracized away from her friends. And she wrote it as if, you know, it was something that she needed to hear from God um in that space. And then that's why there's like the gospel sing the choir in there and it has that gospel influence. And then also with Butterfly and her leaving the relationship and, you know, and seeking this space of freedom, she wrote that from a perspective of what she wanted Tommy Mottola to probably say to her. Like, you know, spread your wings and prepare to fly for you to become a butterfly. And I think specifically to like the second verse, where she's like, "You have given me the courage to be all that I can. And I truly feel your heart will lead you back to me when you're ready to land." Like, I don't know if that's what she meant in her relationship, but I just thought that that was beautiful. And just even the first verse, like, of, and I mean, she was metaphorically talking about the horse, kind of like being caged and then like setting it free, but really talking about herself and just wishing that that would have been like Tommy Mottola's reaction or perspective of letting her free. And I just thought that that was beautiful. And then I kind of had like a similar approach in how I was writing this song. Um, so yeah, I mean, that was my point. That was the point that I wanted to make. And yeah, I just wanted to share the creative process of this song that I was working on, and um how I was feeling about it. Just like sonically, like the beat, the sample, and just like the challenge of it, and just like how I had these ideas throughout this period of time, and then like finally putting it all together. And then yeah, and then writing the song. And yeah, I'm excited about that. So, that's all I wanted to talk about, y'all. I can get into the whole like deep spiritual thing because I mean, I do have some things that I want to share and talk about and perspectives about certain ideologies or whatever. But we'll get into that later. That we'll save that for another live stream. But I really just purely wanted to talk about music and just talk about creativity and what I feel like is missing from art these days. And I mean, well, it's a lot in art. It's just a little bit too much in the art, and I just feel like we just need to just bring it back to just it being about quality work and quality art. And it's like, what are you really saying in these songs? And why? For what? Like, what's the intention? What's the message? How are you trying to entertain people? Are you trying to influence people? Are you inspiring people? Are you encouraging people? Are you disempowering people? Are you dumbing people down? Like, what is it? What is it? And just say that, you know, whether it's the positive or the negative, you know? And I'm just kind of like over the having to decipher and decode shit, it's played out. Um, and I wanted to just share the creative process of something that I made and just purely show that it's really just about the art. And like, yeah, there's certain real life experiences that inspired it, but I'm really proud of it. It's just like a I mean, right now I just have the loop. I still have to make the beat. Like, I'm not done the production. And you know what? And that's another point that I wanted to say too. I was thinking about live streaming while I was working on the beat because I was like, I should probably record it on here because if anybody's watching me work on it, the hackers or whatever. I was just like, no, I'm just gonna enjoy the moment. I'm just gonna enjoy the fact that I'm just working on art. Like, everything doesn't have to be on display. Like, everything doesn't have to be for, you know, consumption, you know? Like, when some of your favorite artists work on their stuff, they don't have to show you the behind the scenes. And I feel like, again, like something that I've said in me doing these live streams, I felt like, well, if anybody's documenting my stuff, it should be me. So I do. And that's how I started working on these live streams. But at the same time, my creative process just shouldn't have to be documented, period, on any platform because it's art. And, you know, and me being the person that I am, I respect artists and I respect creatives. And I know that sometimes you have to make stuff that looks awkward or sounds weird. And then, or it's a little bit off, or it doesn't sound quite right, or maybe the bar just didn't land the way you want it to. and that's okay. Like, it's a part of the creative process. Like, as much as we love our favorite creatives, it took a while for them to make the art that we hear. Like, if they show us behind the scenes footage, even that is chopped up to a degree. Like, it's not like they show us everything. And there's probably times where people, their voice cracks in the studio or they fuck up a bar, whatever. It's real life. Like, it's not, everything isn't so like polished and perfect. And so, like, I mean, I am grateful to show that, but that's not necessary for everybody to see all the time. And for art, it's a emotional, it's a spiritual, it's a vulnerable expression, and it should be seen as something sacred. It shouldn't have to be something put on display unless that's what you want to do. And say for people who are artists, say they might make art not necessarily to put out and for it to be sold, but just for the sake of creating art. Like, I just want to make a song because I'm good at making songs. And it might not even, see the light of day. Prince was like that. There's so many songs in the vault that never came out, but because it was just for the sake of him wanting to create. Like, I was just watching this clip of I mean, I had already heard this story, but it was interesting hearing from the perspective of Sheila E. And she was saying how, you know, for those who don't know, like, it was it was almost a possibility that Prince was supposed to be on Michael Jackson's Bad. And when he heard the first line, like, "Your bud is mine," he was like, am I supposed to sing that to him, or he's supposed to sing that to me? Because you for sure not saying that to me, and I ain't singing it to you." So he backed out the song, but he redid the song in his own way and erased it. Like, he reworked the song in his, like, and I guess it was a completely different version than the one that we all know, and then deleted it just for the sake of, like, I know I'm dope and I could do it, and it don't gotta be out for the public, but it's for the sake of that I'm an artist and I'm a creative and I really enjoy this thing, and I love what I do and I'm good at it. Everything doesn't have to be for the world of capitalism or consumption for people. you know we can just create to create, and I say all this to say that was kind of the mentality that I had yesterday, when I first started working on this beat. And I was thinking about it. I was like, should I be live streaming right now? Like, because I am working on this song, and I'm like, and I know it's a new song. I'm like, the Truman, if my life were like the Truman Show, people are probably watching and listening anyway. I'm just like, nah, man, fuck them and fuck that. Like, I'm just making art. I'm just making art because I really enjoy this and I'm good at it, and it makes me feel good, and I'm inspired to write, and I love what I'm writing. I love the melodies that I'm coming up with. I love the ideas for harmonies that I'm thinking of, just for the sake of the art, not for, oh, is this person gonna like this? Is this person gonna feel away? Fuck them people. Like, I'm just doing this because I want to, and it makes me feel good, you know? And that's what it should be about. And today, it's not. It's not. Like, I feel like the art is just not hitting like it could, you know? And I get it. I get it for people who are in the industry, who are signed to contracts, and they're expected to sell a certain amount of CDs, so you got to make a certain type of song and sell a certain type of thing. And if that's the type of music that you want to make, that's cool. That's great. I think for me it's like, I don't know, like, like, I'm not gonna lie and say, like, I'm perfect at just focusing straight specifically on the art. Like, because there was a part of me that was like, you know what? All of my songs are slow and guitar, like, sounding songs. So let me do stuff that's upbeat. But I'm like, if I'm going to do it, like, it's going to be dope though. Like, it's not going to sound like generic, like what everybody else is doing. Like, I'm going to do it in a way where I enjoy it, I have fun, and I'm making something that I'm proud of, regardless, you know? Um, and yeah, and I'm enjoying the process. I'm not trying to sound like whatever's on the radio. I'm not trying to make a hit for this or a hit for that. Like, it's a hit for me, in the best way. And it's a bop. And, and I'll bop these bitches with beats respectfully. But for the sake of the art, not for the sake of like popularity and clout and this and that. Like, nah, I don't need that. You know, I'm I just do it for the fact that I'm good at this. I know I'm talented and I'm proud of what I make. Now, the other point that I wanted to get back to, actually, um, so I had been listening to a lot of Aretha Franklin, and you know, I was inspired just because when they go low, I go high. um, but not really, just because, like, for one, I had just gotten my car. Um, and and I'm very, y'all know, very on the spiritual side and very intentional about things. And I'm a prayer warrior. If it's one thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pray and talk to God. Um, and I just wanted to like clean and bless my car. And so I had been listening to the gospel album by Aretha Franklin. And I I had already like tried working on some of those songs and or at least one of them. And I knew at some point, like, okay, when it comes to vocals, if you don't know, Mariah's my girl. Period. Like, she is like that's the vocal one for me. And then like there was a point in time where I was really into Christina Aguilera, and I mean I still appreciate her as a vocalist, and Beyonce, but Mariah was always like number one. And I didn't really appreciate Whitney until later on. Like, I knew she was amazing, but I naturally just gravitated towards Mariah. And then when I would listen to more Whitney, I was like low key like intimidated by her vocally. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I could do these Whitney songs. And it's funny because with Mariah, like she has like the whistle notes and stuff like that. And I feel like that could be like a little bit more intimidating. But I think with Whitney, it's just like that church background, you know, and just and then like her mom like trained her vocally, and then like she's got like Dionne Warwick, like the foundation of what her vocals are is just amazing, and I know like the type of singer that she is, like she has a strong chest voice, and and her runs are just so like it's quick and effortless, you know and I know like I can do runs, and sometimes like it's funny. I remember like talking with a friend years ago, just about vocals because they were a singer. I mean, I'm sure they still sing, but I haven't talked to them in a long time. And we were just talking about sometimes when you try to do a run and it just don't land how you need it to, and just like some of the last few notes just kind of like slip away. It's like, yeah, those runaway runs. And sometimes I'll have those moments, but I feel like my agility is getting a lot better. Um, yeah, so like and then I told myself like I wanted to challenge myself to sing Whitney songs, and I know it was requested to me at one of my performances at a nursing home. I don't know if it was a setup or not, seemed like it, but whatever. um I was like, I'll work on it and I'll get back to you, sir. Standing behind the net. But anyway, um but recently I you know one of my favorites from her was I Have Nothing from the Bodyguard movie. I mean, I know everybody loves, I'll Always Love You, and it's a great song, but I mean, I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm always kind of like a B-side kind of a girl. Like, the songs that aren't as popular as everything else. I mean, there are some popular songs that I like, but I'm the type of person where it's like I know the best songs. The best song wasn't the single. But anyway, um so yeah, and I know like that is a popular song. It's a big song, but it's not as big as I'll Always Love You. But I always really liked I Have Nothing. And I know there's like like two or three key changes in that song. So I always like seen it as like a challenge. I always wanted to like be able to sing it, and I was able to sing it the other day. And I don't know what it is. I feel like I don't know. It's like Aretha like inspiration, but my like chest voice has been like building in a lot stronger now than it had been for a while. I mean, and the thing is like it's something that I always knew that I could do, and but I was always scared to do when I was younger. Like I was always scared of my voice. I didn't want to like be too loud or disrupt anybody. So I would always kind of like sing quietly, but I always like wanted to be able to like be a powerhouse vocalist. And and I would listen to powerhouse vocalists, and and listening to Aretha lately, and just like with everything that's kind of been going on in my life, I've just been like really like feeling the gospel album that I have been listening to. It's been very inspirational for me and empowering and encouraging me spiritually, but just also encouraging me as a vocalist. And I've been a lot better at transmuting my emotions and feelings into song. And that album has been helping a lot. And with that, my chest voice has been a lot stronger. And so I've just been like more compelled to just like go for it with certain songs. And certain things is like, all right, okay, I gotta work on that note, or I gotta figure out a better way to like approach that note and like glide into the run or whatever the case may be. But um essentially my point is that um listening to Aretha has been empowering me as a vocalist. And I'm really proud. I'm really proud of that. And it's like little things like that where it's like it doesn't have to be like, oh, I sold 1 million records. I mean, that's a milestone in itself. So for people who do that, shout out to that. But for me, like the foundation is talent. And I have my shady moments. I do have my shady moments where I come for the girls because again, my beef is talent. Like it's always the art. It's the art, it's talent, it's quality. That's really what matters to me. Like, all the lights, the name and the lights and the sold out this many this and whatever, or this song on the radio, like all of that is really cool. And that's something to definitely be proud of, especially if that's something that you've always dreamed about. But I feel like the thing that's always undisputable is talent. And it's like if you got the talent, if you have the creativity, if you really have the eye for putting a look together, or really like directing a visual that's really dope, or producing a song that's like quality, that's the shit that matters to me. Like, all the popularity shit, like, I mean, it's cool to have that, and I mean, I'm not gonna act like there's not a part of me that wanted that, but I feel like for me right now, the value for me is the talent, like the creativity. Child, my hair is, but it's like, who gives a fuck about the hair when the talent is the talent? But, you know, and I'm just grateful that I just keep growing as a talent, as a creative, as an artist. And I just feel like regardless of whatever's going on in this world, it could be Armageddon outside, the zombies could be walking by. I don't care. Like my vocals are getting better and I'm proud. Like, yeah, I'm proud of that. I can do an 8 count. Once I know the choreo and I figured it out, I could do an 8 count and I'm proud of that, you know? Or yeah, there might have been a time where I didn't know how to make a beat. I can make a beat. I can play a hiatus coyote song on guitar. And I'm proud of that. Like I'm proud of those things. And you know, and that's specifically talking about creativity. But like that also goes for like things like just in other aspects of my life too, like spiritually, like growing as a spiritualist and like evolving as a spiritualist and just evolving in my like connection to God. And you know, and just knowing like, I'm stronger at this than I was before, or my discernment is so much better these days. And again, like I said on here before, like yeah, like I'm a sensitive little goddess. I'm a sensitive little alien. You know, and so yeah, there are moments where I feel away. Or I might interpret something because, you know, when you're in the world of Armageddon, like, you know, and it's just constant battle, and sometimes you don't know what's genuine or not when people are being kind, because sometimes people are kind and it's fake. And I mean, you do have to be wary of that, but we shouldn't have to live in a world that's so convoluted. But regardless, like, you know, in certain circumstances, I'm like, okay, my discernment is more on point now than it used to be, and I'm proud of that. Or, you know, I'm more spiritually sound, or I'm more spiritually aware, or I'm better at protecting myself. You know, it's easy for people to try to discredit you and be like, oh, you know, the witches are pulling the strings. And yeah, sometimes they do, because like, I mean, look how many fucking witches a bitch you gotta go up against, you know? But at the same time, the battle years ago ain't the battle what it is today, you know? I'm like, yeah, you need a group, you know? You need a team to compete with me. Okay? Cause look, I'm just saying this as a warrior of God. It is what it is. But but I say this to say skills and talent and strength is something that I've built up over the years, whether it's my art, whether it's visuals, whether it's like my expression and stuff, whether it's like personal development, whether it's spiritual. Like something that's always important to me is like growth and evolution and evolving and bettering myself. And that's something that I know no one can take away from me. And like you could say whatever the fuck you want to say about me. I know that I'm doing the work to grow. I know that I'm evolving and I'm so much better than I used to be. And even in times where like, excuse me, even in times where I might have like foolishly given people chances and went back to certain situations that didn't align with me. I did so like foolishly hoping that it could be something different. Now I have the discernment to know what situations are. I know that things might not always be exactly what it used to be, but because of the work that I've done, I just rather do the right thing. Period. You know, I know that this might not land or this might not be received like it should be, but it's not, that's not the point. The point is doing the right thing, because I've done the work to say, you know what, I'm gonna take my emotions out of this, but I know this is the right thing to do, even though I might not necessarily feel like I should or want to, or I don't know how they're gonna receive it, but it's just the right thing. And just growing in that way, I'm proud of, you know. And if nobody else is gonna be proud, I'm gonna be proud. So um yeah, okay, that's my last point. That's the last point that I wanted to say. Um but yeah, the art ain't art like it should be. So let's bring it back to art and talent. And I just wanted to express the creative process of this song that I'm working on, and be okay with creating it without necessarily having to live stream it, just for the sake of creating. And and I'm just doing like a mental recap. And evolution as artists, evolution as creatives, evolution as people. um yeah, that's the live stream. And also, um, I had a video go viral on TikTok a while ago talking about independent candidates, because I know this election is going on. And you know, this is not an endorsement. This is just an observation, just a scientifically proven fact. It's like, nah. But this is just me saying Cornel West is still running for president. That's all. I hope you all enjoyed this live stream. I hope you all have a great night. Um, I'm grateful to be back on here doing what I do and expressing my creativity. Much love to you all. Um, God bless. And regardless of, you know, policies and how you feel, make sure y'all vote. Because I do think it is important, even though I feel like the electoral college, like we got to talk about that. We got to talk about the electoral college because I'm not gonna lie. Part of me do be feeling like it don't matter how these elections go because one, electoral college, and two, people with money and power that influence things. I'm just saying. I feel like that has more pull than people getting out and voting because we've seen several times where the popular vote, where the people who went out and voted, went to the polls, did they mail in ballots, voted, and the popular vote was not who was elected into office. I'm just saying, like, when are we going to talk about electoral college? Because that's, I just feel like until we really have a good look at that and talk about that, it what's the point? But I do still feel like it is important to vote. It is important to vote. But I mean, come on, electoral college, either get rid of it or change it because it don't make no sense how millions of people can vote for a candidate and then that candidate still lose. Because what's the point? What's the point of y'all hounding us to go vote if electoral college just overrides the American people? Let's talk about that. But anyway, this isn't the political. This isn't the political episode, but I will throw that in there. Yeah, that's it. All right. Much love to you all. Y'all know I do like to end on a prayerful note because that is my vibe. That's what I do. And we will simply end with what do you call it? Um Psalm 23, because that's what we do. And yeah, and I mean most of the talking was the prayer, but we'll end with Psalm 23. All right, y'all. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me on a path of righteousness for his name's sake. And although I walk through the valley in the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. God prepares a table for me in the presence of my enemies and anoints my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So it is, so it will be. So much gratitude for what has already been. Amen. I mean, Ashe. Thank you all. Have a blessed night. Y'all will see me back here. I'll let y'all know what the schedule is soon. And much love and abundance.